Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It's Mr. Gomez. Hey, I hope this is our first lesson no, the second lesson, huh? This is the second lesson of January. I hope you guys all had a really great vacation, and I hope you guys got to spend some time with your families, and you guys are all nice and safe and healthy and warm right now. Okay. This week, our lesson is going to be focused on what's happening next week. Okay. Next week we're gonna have a day off on Monday, and we're gonna have a day off because it's the birthday remembrance of a very special man. Okay, so we take this day off as a holiday to remember Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, and because this month is the month of kindness, January is the month of kindness. Martin Luther King Jr. was a very kind man, and he wanted to watch out for everybody. Okay, at one time, the United States had a bunch of ugly laws that said that white people and black people and brown people couldn't be in the same place at the same time. That black people and brown people couldn't eat in the same restaurants or ride on the same in the same place on the bus. Okay, there were a bunch of ugly laws, and Dr. King was one of those people that helped make sure that those ugly laws went away. And so Monday we get to celebrate his vision and his fight, okay, to make sure that everybody is treated equally. So we're gonna watch a little video right now. It's only a few minutes, just to explain Dr. King's life a little bit, okay? And hopefully you guys could learn something about a truly great man of the United States, okay? So let me turn my screen around so you guys could see what I'm seeing. Okay, hopefully you guys see it now. Let's watch it together, okay?
A Picture Book of Martin Luther King, Jr. A Picture Book of Martin Luther King, Jr. by David A. Adler, illustrated by Robert Casilla. Martin Luther King, Jr. was one of America's great leaders. He was a powerful speaker, and he spoke out against laws which kept black people out of many schools and jobs. He led protests and marches demanding fair laws for all people. Martin Luther King, Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. Martin's father was a pastor. His mother had been a teacher. Martin had an older sister, Willie Christine, and a younger brother, Alfred Daniel. Young Martin liked to play baseball, football, and basketball. He liked to ride his bicycle and to sing. He often sang in his father's church. Young Martin played in his backyard with his friends. One day he was told that two of his friends could no longer play with him because they were white and he was black. Martin cried. He didn't understand why the color of his skin should matter to anyone. Martin's mother told him that many years ago black people were brought in chains to America and sold as slaves. She told him that long before Martin was born, the slaves had been set free. However, there were still people who did not treat black people fairly. In Atlanta, where Martin lived, and elsewhere in the United States, there were white-only signs. Black people were not allowed in some parks, pools, hotels, restaurants, and even schools. Blacks were kept out of many jobs. Martin learned to read at home before he was old enough to start school. All through his childhood, he read books about black leaders. Martin was a good student. He finished high school 2 years early and was just 15 when he entered Morehouse College in Atlanta. At college, Martin decided to become a minister. After Martin was graduated from Morehouse, He studied for a doctorate at Boston University. While he was there, he met Coretta Scott. She was studying music. They fell in love and married. In 1954, Martin Luther King Jr. began his first job as a pastor in Montgomery, Alabama. The next year, Rosa Parks, a black woman, was arrested in Montgomery for sitting in the white-only section of a bus. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led a protest. Blacks throughout the city refused to ride the buses. Dr. King said, "There comes a time when people get tired of being kicked about." One night, while Dr. King was at a meeting, someone threw a bomb into his house. Martin's followers were angry. They wanted to fight. Martin told them to go home peacefully. "We must love our white brothers," he said. "We must meet hate with love." The bus protest lasted almost a year. When it ended, there were no more white-only sections on buses. Dr. King decided to move back to Atlanta in 1960. There, he continued to lead peaceful protests against white-only waiting rooms, lunch counters, and restrooms. He led many marches for freedom. In 1963, Dr. King led the biggest march of all, the March on Washington. More than 200,000 black and white people followed him. "I have a dream," he said in his speech. "I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." The next year, in 1964, Dr. King was awarded one of the greatest honors any man can win, the Nobel Peace Prize. The country was changing. New laws were passed. Blacks could go to the same schools as whites. They could go to the same stores, restaurants, and hotels. White-only signs were against the law. Dr. King told his followers to protest peacefully, but there were some riots and some violence. Then, in April 1968, Dr. King went to Memphis, Tennessee. He planned to march so black and white garbage workers would get the same pay for the same work. On April 4th in Memphis, Dr. King stood outside his motel room. Another man, James Earl Ray, was hiding nearby. He pointed a rifle at Dr. King. He fired the gun. An hour later, Dr. King was dead. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of a world free of hate, prejudice, and violence. Carved on the stone which marks his grave are the words, "I'm free at last." The end.
So that was a cool video about a great man, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He fought to make sure that, and when I say fight, he fought in terms of, he did what they call peaceful protests, where he was very nice to people and he would have other people join him and demand equality, but without hitting anybody, without destroying anything. And so he was a great man. He made sure he helped change the world, okay? And he said something very cool. He said, "We must meet hate with love," okay? And right now is a time where there's a lot of hate out in the world still, okay? So we got to meet that hate with love, and we got to make sure that we love each other. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. Next Monday, like I said, we're going to have the day off in celebration of Dr. King. So maybe you guys can treat somebody with kindness and love people. Okay? Thank you guys. See you later.